Hello to everyone. I'm Sergeant Genitals, also known as Literally Who. You might know me from a recent thing that has been plaguing the fucking Buru recently for, 2 days now?
Yeah, about two.
Yeah, about 2
Mostly the
days.
number two post.
Oh, don't cry there, Snoot fan! Yeah. Oh, fucking A. That was its own little funny thing, but it's not what we're here to talk about. My little segment here is supposed to be talking about the importance of world building and how, in certain aspects, it is probably one of the most important things that you can put down to make sure that anyone who is reading, watching, or playing anything that you had a hand in will actually give a shit about the greater encompassing world. Because at the end of the day, it either has to make sense or is captivating enough to keep someone fucking invested. And the first thing you do with world building is you don't focus on it at all. The first thing you should do is just pick the one thing that interests you. So, sci-fi, fantasy, horror, like whatever. You pick that and you start throwing in shit that you like that might not even be part of that. You can have a horror thing, you have a bunch of comedy shit in there, you have specific jokes, you have specific types of monsters that aren't considered horror, but you can make them horror. You just toss a bunch of shit in. And the first thing that you were supposed to do is now figure out how to make that shit make sense. That's what world building is. It's putting all of your little checks of autism in there and then just checking a little box to make sure, yeah, that's what I like. And yeah, now it makes sense. Or you could go in the more enjoyable fashions of it makes sense because it doesn't make sense, because you decide to make all the rules of the world around you that much more little chaotic. Because nothing is set in stone, chaos is therefore the rule, not the exception. But I'm divulging. How I could possibly put it into a good little metaphor would probably be something along the lines of some things that I've done. Like in one of my fantasy things that I am writing currently, I wanted to have wizard towers. But I needed a reason. I need an actual reason as to why wizard towers would exist. And the reason for those the reason that those wizard towers exist, that I found out, is that they would commune with sky serpents that would teach them how to cast magic. So there's always just a little. You have to reason out the stupid shit that you want, because again, it can be as stupid as you fucking want. You want fucking babes in chainmail bikinis? Cool. Give it a reason. Give it a reason as to why that is an actual thing that someone wears and believes it will protect them from danger. Now, I don't have that in mind personally. Not that I don't enjoy it, simply because I haven't thought of anything yet. But for the most part, it is simply just going to be very simple things given reason. Like sci-fi setting. I wanted rednecks in space, and I thought it was hilarious. Well, how could I like cultivate this little culture that I'm trying to create? Well, you make things like fucking Leonard Beauregard. Leonard Beauregard was a fucking hick that won on a lotto scratcher and decided to build a weapons manufacturing company with his earnings. He is essentially,
Uncle Bubba.
he's Bubba. His friends call him Bubba. So he essentially just started making a whole bunch of guns that you would see made in some dude who has a Ford F-150 or a Chevy Tahoe and thinks that is the car that God drives. It's got dents. It's got a fucking truck rack on the back. There may or may not be a possum somewhere within the engine cabin. And he loads his own ammunition and almost always works perfectly fine, except for that one time it didn't.
Ah, yes, the piston hot loads.
Yeah, hot loads.
It definitely works fine. Definitely did not blow up internet, like interspatial YouTube celebrity at one point.
Definitely did not cause monumental damage to the inside of a ship.
Yeah.
Space Kentucky ballistics.
Yeah. So with Leonard, a lot of the things that just kind of encompass him is just it's just the funniest. It's just funny stories you would imagine a redneck getting up to, but you just add on in space. That's entirely what it is. It's stupid, it's goofy, but that's the entire point of what the sci-fi setting is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the dumb shit that I do while I'm causing never-ending torture to the denizens of the fantasy world.
So you're telling me there's a whole planet that just grows corn?
Stop! You're giving me ideas.
Well, hold on. They're just stuck in the labyrinth system, aren't they? I don't know that they have enough
Current. Okay, so with how current things are, the funny thing about the sci-fi setting is that all the world building that you're hearing does not apply to anything of where the story will begin. It is simply the explanation of here are the people we have, here's the history they have. It has nothing to do with where they are now. It has no bearing. Now it does affect how those people interact with each other now that they're stuck here. A Lord of the Flies scenario, if you will, except this version of Lord of the Flies has about 80 chapters where the boys just kind of figure out who each other is, and then the plane crashes and they all start killing each other for ascertained reasons before.
I hate you. No, I hate you more.
I'm a fish and you like to go fishing. I'm gonna shoot a brick.
This space pig is mine.
I see you got your space overalls on. Well, let's go down to the Hogswash and take the truck mutton.
You know what? You just gave me a fucking hilarious idea of someone just, you know how they'll just like stick their thumbs in the bands of the of where the overalls kind of clip onto the button.
Yeah.
I just imagine him tugging on those, and it has that like those little circle rays shooting out of it. Yeah, he just woo woo woo, and it just shoots out those 3 circles, and it's just like ah! It fucking dies. And now that I've thought about that idea, I have to go and think about like the tactical value of those things and where the fuck which company made it and like what year it came out.
It's a quick release for oxygen supply.
No, wait. It specifically wasn't made by any like manufacturer that you think of. It was made by a jeans manufacturer. Is they're branching out to making other products that failed horribly commercially?
Ah, yes, Levi's jeans, also known for their more controversial step into death rays. So yes, it's important to have things. Now, the most important thing about world building is that things do not happen in a petri dish. So if you have one thing happening in one portion of the world, yes, that is going to be a solely located there event. However, as time passes, news of that event or the culture that surrounds, the fact that that event happened is going to then spread as people come and go, and you'll have traveling tradesmen and just general foreigners coming and going at leisure all the time. A good instance for this would be in the fantasy setting in Gaslorn. There is a region called the Dunner Woods, or they're next to the Blackwood, actually. But there's this little town called Dunner. Now they have this little festival that recounts an old fairy tale about the Dunner Witch, and the whole thing about the Dunner Witch is it was this little story of this man gets lost in the woods, and he asks a woman to he asks this old witch, this old hag in the middle of the woods in this cabin, to show him the way out. So she says okay, and she essentially gives him a list of chores, and he proceeds to complete them. And what the witch does in return is she brews a little potion and hands it to him, and when he drinks it, he turns into an ent, like a living tree monster. And for being slighted in this fashion, he chases the witch into the woods, and neither of them are ever seen again. Now, with that story, the Dunner Witch Trials in Dunner is essentially, they have this like 3-day long, no, 4 to 5 day long festival in which it has a bunch of sturdy of age men enacting in competitions where they will essentially mock the trials that the man in the story went through for the witch. And the last one is the guys have to wear these tree trunks around their bodies that have kind of been hollowed out so that they have like armholes. And they select an elderly woman of the town, and she has to escape all of these grown men wandering around in tree logs, and she has to make it to the tree line. And if she does, she escapes, and all the men are supposed to be forever cursed as ents, even though they just have to wear the log for the rest of the festival. But if someone catches her, they get to take off the log, and they get to enjoy the festivities. It's sort of like hurrah, you caught an old woman, congratulations. But that's essentially the main thing of the Dunner Witch Trials. And the thing is that this started off as just like a tiny little story. People thought it would be fun to turn it into a festival, an excuse to have some fun for a week. So they do it yearly. Now, of course, when you have a festival, there's a reason for such. Or rather, it doesn't necessarily stay in one place. So people will go, and they've heard about this. Like, oh, I was traveling over to Dunner and I saw that they were having a festival. I was wondering what that was about, and they told me about this Dunner Witch Trial nonsense, and that's when this festival starts going from place of word of mouth, of letters, of all these different fashions, and now everyone in the greater region of Gaslorn kind of knows about the Dunner Witch Trials that happens yearly. So a lot more people show up, so the festival's gotten quite big.
Everybody, including other witches.
Possibly, I don't know. There was one woman that was actually, she was so quick. I think there was a good chunk of years where she was chosen to be the woman that ran, and they never caught her, not once. They started to joke saying that she was the Dunner Witch, come back to show them how it's done. So it's little things like that you just like, you get this little twitch in your brain of like, oh, this is a little story that can go on. So those little stories aren't isolated, and then they become ripple effects. Other people start interacting with it, and sure, this is like a good thing, but you also have things that are bad. Case in point of Mildred kind of fucking up constantly. But one particular one that was deemed a fuck up was when they tried taking over Ascan. Now, Ascan, for case in point, when Mildred was trying to invade, they had a little bit of they didn't have all that much of their land properly covered. In the essence that they were just a bunch of savages, essentially. Now, not savages in the proper sense, but more tribesmen. They respected the land because there was freaky shit out there that if you didn't appease it in some various fashion, or if you just pissed it off by existing, you were kind of fucked. So they're very what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like spiritualistic. They're concerned about things that go bump in the night that they don't quite understand, and there's no way you could understand it without, fucking with it. So, Ascan is an undeveloped country of tribesmen. Mildred is a completely developed country with proper total war style combat military. Big old boxes of troops. Walking single file directly into another big old box of troops, single file. Or, well,
boxes.
Yes. So the whole thing with the war for Ascan was that it wasn't going in their favor because, despite them being tribesmen, it was their land and they knew how to work it. They also knew how to fuck with the wildlife to cause issue for the Mildred troops. So there was never a moment where they weren't getting fucked over by something. You fight people during the day, and you have a bunch of deer or a pack of wolves or a fucking giant grizzly bear show up and fuck up your camp while you're trying to sleep. So morale's not a thing. It just doesn't exist. If you need a kind of an understanding of how it was like, what's the most autistic way? I know the most autistic way I can describe this. It was essentially the Hist. It was essentially the Imperials trying to invade Black Marsh in fucking Elder Scrolls. And we all know how that went.
Nothing can invade Black Marsh.
Nothing can invade Black Marsh. Not even the fucking Daedra could invade Black Marsh.
The
Literal hell.
It was the Argonians invading Hell and taking it over.
Yes.
Argonians can survive anywhere.
Yes.
Even in the cold, somehow.
Don't worry
That's
about it.
because they're made in the image of man. So the Hit
Yes.
probably gave them warm blood. Who knows?
So this was getting to a point that it was getting ridiculous. So one of the Mildred kings, the Silver Crown King, general of the armies, and essentially responsible for external threats and whatnot. He says, "Fuck this! Get me one of those old ancient elven technology things that we don't know how it works or what it does." He goes to the researchers, and they say, this should just create like a light show and scare them." He created a light show, and it tore a fucking hole along the southern border of the country that is now known as the Glowing Scar. Over 100 years later, it's still glowing. And there's bad shit down there. The Askani, when they saw this, were like, "Oh, these guys are fucking crazy. We give up." And Silver Crown King, kind of not expecting the power he just kicked out, was a little bit shook. So he kind of stopped the whole thing. Everyone was like, "Man, this was kind of a wet fart of a war, now wasn't it? They gave up, and we're not even too sure if we should take it."
Wait, it was that easy?
Yeah, not that it was that easy. It's just, oh my god, this is how we fucking won. Was literally cheating with doomsday weapons that we didn't know how it worked. That could have pointed directly into my chest. He had intended to keep the land, which, I mean, you can't really... I get it, it's wilderness, but you can still keep the lumber, you can keep the stone. I mean, the connection with the portion of... The connection with the portion of land that he cut through could have actually been a valuable route through the Elder Green.
And he transformed it into magical radiation.
He transformed it into magical radiation that has caused horrific things to be down in that fucking chasm. They don't go outside. They don't like the sun or open air. They prefer it where it's all fucked down there. So this whole little finagle, that whole story I just told you, was entirely so the religious order can talk to the two crowns and essentially place themselves as essentially we have a purpose. We get to complete this purpose by any means necessary. So we get to do whatever the fuck. And that purpose is rounding up all of that old ancient elven technology and keeping it away from people. So it's just the Brotherhood of Steel in fantasy setting.
So now you have world police in the form of the Order of Order.
Pretty much.
And all it took was dropping a nuke.
Yeah, all it took was creating a horrible fucking... a literal hell chasm on Earth.
Yeah, pittance for world creators.
Yeah, pittance. So that's essentially how deep it can go. That I wanted a religious order that had a purpose, because I knew that when the elves made their little fucking technology, they couldn't have it. Otherwise, you could just A fight begins between two people. Someone pulls out what looks like a fucking pencil, and it shoots out miniature suns, and they just win. So
Points at you with a binky, drops a nuke.
Gaga, bitch.
Goo goo gaga, bitch. Oh my god.
This giant
All
suit
of
of armor that looks like a mech coffee machine.
The one thing I will also state for world building and anyone who is having any sort of issue, if you are having something that you are not 110% confident that you can write for, just leave it alone for now. Just leave that one portion alone and come back to it. These 2 points that I'm bringing up are going to intersect. Come back to something and never, ever fucking erase anything. The one rule I will give everyone who tries to start writing and they're like going into world building, write in pen. Make sure you have a physical little journal that you can carry around wherever the fuck you go, and make sure you are writing in pen. Because it's permanent. And the only way you're going to get rid of it is by crossing it out and wasting ink. So, with... Go ahead.
When you make a note, you can use it later.
Exactly.
I remember you telling me a few stories about that with the Fisherman's Tale stuff.
Yes, the story that I can't finish because it's cursed. The reason I say it's cursed is I had dropped my pen while I was writing it, and I hadn't noticed that the tip of the pen had been pulled off, essentially the ink stopper. And it had dropped big-ass fucking drops of ink onto the page, and they soaked through. And so as I'm flipping through the story now, I just see these giant fuck-ass blotches of ink that look evil and sinister as the story goes on. I'm just like, I can't finish this. This is evil. That's a sign. Especially if it involves sailors, so they're very skeptic. That was the fucking word. Or
Not skeptic. Skeptic. No, not suspect. Fuck. What's the term again? Where you believe in like wise tales.
Superstitious.
Fuck.
superstitious. Thank you. Yes, that's what the Ask Annie were as well. But yes, sailors are superstitious folk. So, did I send you a picture of what that fucking page looks like?
I don't think you did. If you have it on hand, I can throw it up.
You know, it's fine. I don't. I've already wasted enough time with trying to get here on time and failing that miserably.
Oh, you're fine.
You're not dead, at least.
Yeah,
I prefer it that way.
me too. Surprised to hear. So the one thing about not erasing everything is that you will have an idea. Just jot it down. And it may not work with what you're currently trying to figure out an idea for, but if you have an idea, just write it down, and I guarantee you, maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even next week, but at some point, that idea is going to come up, and it is going to fix a fucking problem that you are having right then and there. And the best part is, you'll have physical notes that you can flip back through and kind of get where your head was at the time, and then you'll have this new, fresh concept that this idea works fucking perfect for. So, oh man, I had this idea fucking weeks ago, and I was wondering how to make it work, and I got it! For the longest fucking time, I was struggling with I'm still struggling with Vena, fucking Romans, but they are their own thing. They are legitimately segregated by a mountain range that no one cares to cross.
That's the big thing about world building is that there's so much shit. Like you start going down this rabbit hole, then it's like, oh, I want to do this, then I want to do that, then I want to do this, and it's like, fuck, I got to get back to the original point. And it's like, wait, then there's this entirely other thing I wrote down on a fucking note that I forgot about.
And it works perfect for what I'm currently working on. All right, we're going back into the trenches.
And now, some reason I need to write about the original thing about humanity.
This is a necessary struggle for those who want multiple things going on in the same world, multiple narratives being spun at the same
Pretty
time.
much. Well, that's the thing about a world, is that while something is going on, several thousand other things are going on at the same time.
There's other shit happening.
And then you
There's
got
other
Japanese
shit
developers
happening.
doing this since the 90s, and it's like, what the fuck is this cocaine you're on?
Cocaine's too expensive these days.
Coca-Cola, put it back in,
Yeah,
please.
Smoked back at it with a cabinet of clapping.
What?
Look at the channel.
Having a clapping. Oh, God.
Let me pull up the clip.
Oh, my God.
Hey,
Yeah,
Monk every now and then decides it's time to make bangers.
Yeah, but the only thing I know with world building, to a certain extent, is that you don't always want to completely enshroud yourself into just doing that, or else you have a world but no story to tell. And that's a tricky one that you might just stuck yourself to add this, that. What am I going to do with it? I've spent all my time developing this world, but really, what am I telling?
So the greatest joy that I have is that in certain instances, the world itself will be a story in of its own. Like, if you look at Warhammer Fantasy, there's so much shit going on. So much shit.
Some may argue too much shit going on.
Some may argue too much shit. They're wrong and they should feel bad about their shitty opinions. Well, so the whole thing about too much shit going on, look at the world around you, motherfucker. This is the age of technology, where you can see everything going on at once. The horrible, horrible thing about the age of technology and being able to see everything all at once is that it's always been this way. You just didn't know it was fucking happening. Back in the day, the only time you knew something was happening was because someone wasted the fucking ink to write it down and send it somewhere else.
Or nail it on the wall of a door.
Exactly.
Or post it to a post. Hence why we call it posting.
Exactly. Just, the only reason you know everything that is going on in this day and age is because you have a little fucking computer that is connected to the entire fucking world. The internet. It is connected to the internet, where the internet has allowed us to figure out what is happening at any given moment, here, or here, or here, or there. You can just figure it the fuck out at any given time, and it all comes back to, hey, if you're writing a world, a full-on fucking living, breathing world, there's going to be ripple effects. There's going to be shit going on all the fucking time. And you know what? That's fucking fantastic. And it's real as fuck. So if you have a world in which it always seems something is happening and it's never stopping, cool. That's how it's supposed to be. There's a day-to-day slog in every small town you see. And guess what? In most cases, the most thing they're going to worry about is the fucking trout population. Unless you pull out a smartphone and, well, now they have all the answers of what's going on anywhere else but there.
Also, the trout's not even in their region; it's walleye. They're like, wait, what's not trout?
Pickerel. Look at what the heck are you?
You get my point.
We get the point on it. I believe.
So the whole idea with world building and why in recent years it's honestly kind of pissed me off is that people who are making these worlds, sci-fi, fantasy, just basic, just modern, Western, ancient Roman, whatever scenario you have, fiction. You have a fictitious world. It's not fucking real. Make me believe that you think it's real. Make me believe that the writer who wrote this down gave a shit enough and actually made this world a living, breathing thing that as soon as they take their hands off of it, it can run. And no one's going to stop it. I'll ask you a question. I'll go back to the Warhammer Fantasy. Hell, I'll even go back to fucking Elder Scrolls. Do you believe if the player had no fucking input at any given moment that the world would continue moving on?
There are multiple occasions where the worlds of Elder Scrolls would have ended if the player did nothing.
Well, what I'm meaning is without the touch of the player in the essence of...
Oh, no, everyday life continues on without you.
Exactly.
Even
crisis occurs.
The world continues moving without your interaction. Now, sure, it's a Bethesda game and it doesn't progress, but it continues nevertheless.
I mean, yeah, even with Arena, if, let's say, nobody actually stops Jagger Tharn, there's still a world that's going to move onwards from that. It's just a fucked up one, possibly, but yeah.
Well, it's also the instance of, say the player character completes their thing and then vanishes from fucking existence, fucking Avatar The Last Airbender style. And when the world needed him most, he vanished. The world continues moving on. Everything's perfectly fine. There's no next crisis except until the next era, so we don't need to fucking worry about it. The world continues moving on. The whole thing with just the world moving on is that you could look at Warhammer Fantasy, and the world is alive. It breathes. You understand that there are microcultures within macrocultures, in the same way we have here. We are. Yes, I just wanted to check real quick. Yes, we are all in here Americans. However,
one's Canadian.
Technically American on the continent.
thanks, man.
Yeah, but essentially, there's other shit going on around the world at the current moment. Like, something's fucking happening in, like, Nambia right now.
Sorry, my roommate just brought me burritos.
Hell yeah.
Even then, look, while we're sitting here in our room, roommate brings burritos.
Exactly. That's some fucking world building right there. My point is proven. Exactly what I needed.
Now, there'll always be worlds where basically, yeah, does the world continue upon this point without player input? Well, it's kind of hard to be given at certain points with the world, because they don't make it either obvious, or it's that just
you are the center of the entire experience. Which, sure, you are, however...
Dragonborn walk into Whiterun, the characters all move around, they go about their daily schedules, they sit down to eat, they do their job.
Most people treat you like a fuck-ass ignorant piece of shit for talking to them. And that's perfect. Because the first words out of their mouth usually sum up to, who the fuck are you?
Why the fuck why do you think you mad at me, dog? Why are you stepping to me?
Got stones in your ears? I said Greymane or Battleborn. I want to know how I can be accurately racist to you.
You know what? Technically, a very good example would be like Mass Effect, for if Shepard didn't exist, and like, let's say there was no player input throughout the whole entire first 3 games, that world still has a probable link of what's going to happen with what the world has built around it.
Exactly. But we're going into we're kind of getting lost in the weeds here. I think I may have explained my my point. What I'm meaning with this diatribe is that if I believed that the worlds were not touched by the need for a player to exist, the world would actually move on its own. You know, the Dragonborn without the touch of a player. In lore, in story, the Dragonborn does kill Alduin. And then the world goes back to fucking normal. Or at least as normal as it can be. There's still a war going on, or maybe not. It's all up to fucking chance. And with Warhammer Fantasy, there's just so much shit there. There are cultures that continue to move on. There are entire cities that rise and fall within the matter of an entire fucking story. There's shit that's happening across like the known world of what was it fucking called? Like an entire lizard empire like climbs and falls in the matter of one book that happens in the Empire. I'm sorry, Skaven. An entire Skaven underhive rises and falls within the story of one fucking Empire book. And it's all happening off fucking screen. You don't know that it's happening because that's not the story you're reading. That's not where you are right now. But it's happening. And it's happening as that story is going on.
And then in another part of the world, a fucking meteor just fucking hits a town and creates a whole video game.
Shut the fuck.
And then all somewhere in the middle, butt fuck nowhere in the desert, some guy comes back up to life and he's fucking angry. That's Warhammer Fantasy.
Stirring his cauldron and saying, "Oh, you're a good sport, little doggy. Let me toss you in the fucking cauldron."
And then there's just an entirely separate other continent that fucking exists, where a bunch of people are having a battle royale going on because who the fuck knows what's going on half the time.
Yeah.
that Warhammer Fantasy has a lot of shit going on
in a
that could take
small space.
Years. Yeah. But for
in a relatively small
space
to something like 40K, where there's so much shit going on, it actually seems stale.
Well, it also suffers from the problem that it's same problem as almost Star Wars, where it's so large of a universe that it's like it's not possible to encompass everything that you could try to put into the world.
Does this Empire have any sort of hold on this outer rim world, light years upon light years away? Which I understand it's part of the, suspension of
the joke.
Yeah, and also they do address that the Imperium doesn't have control over all human-infested worlds.
I like how you said infested.
I couldn't think of a better word.
No, it's perfect.
I mean,
it's literally perfect.
Hive world. So,
like, there is a counter-Terra, there is a bunch of other planets that have humans on them that the Imperium has forgotten about. And there are worlds where some guy is the king of the world because he found a lasgun. And there's no other lasguns.
Yes.
And then you have, like, and this might be just a problem with 40K and for the fact there's multiple writers for said universe. Then you run into problems where one part of the universe completely has this set of rules. Then you go to another part of the universe, and it doesn't.
Yeah. So, like pulling back to the point being made. If you put the necessary love and care that is required for a story to feel alive, then you don't really have a worry. It's just you just have to think of thing, make thing make sense. Make thing and then you make other things, make those things make sense. And then the conflict of world building, you have to make sure these two things can exist and make sense while making sense to each other. Or explaining why it makes sense that these things don't make sense together. There can be contradictions. There can be this does not equal this. There can be just straight up, no, it's not like that here. Here's why. You don't have to have it as exposition. You don't even have to have it as someone sits down and explains things like it's a modern day video game, but for the most part, when you have two things within a world that coincide or contradict, both are perfectly fine to exist in the same fucking place. You want a more controversial take? Look at religion. Look at the Abrahamic religions specifically. You have the Christians and the Catholics, which believe in Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. You have the Jews, which do not believe Jesus to be the Messiah, just that he was a cool dude. And then you have the Quran, which worships Allah, which, yes, I know still translates to God, but the translation is such. And they all believe in the one same God. They just believe it in different fashions, and that's where that's what the conflict comes from. You have contradictions existing in the same fucking place. And guess what? The only difference, the only reason that they can all exist together is because it is up to a matter of fucking opinion at that point. And that opinion is, which camp do you fall into? Now, majority these days fall into the lucky little camp of number 4 of, I choose not. But, again, all of those can exist in the same fucking place, even though they all contradict each other. It is a wonderful little thing that the more you look at real life and try and start creating applicable things for world building, it just smears across the surface like fucking butter on toast. It's perfect.
Not just any butter on toast, but warm butter on toast.
Warm butter on warm toast.
Yeah.
Warm knife
the
on
butter
cold
you've had
butter.
in the dish that lives outside of the fridge for the week of the holidays or whatever, when your family's coming over for Christmas, when every day you're getting
the
up and
punished
cooking
butter.
eggs and toast and bacon, otherwise you're going to get bitched at by your grandma.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Chief.
Oh, yeah. No, just the experiences.
The punished butter.
Punished.
I need someone to send me a stick of butter, but it has an eye patch and a fucking piece of metal sticking out the top of it.
It's got to be a butter
It
knife.
was ours.
It's got to be a broken, like, plastic butter knife at the top of it, I think.
Broken plastic butter knife sticking out of the top. That's actually perfect.
Man,
Oh.
playing in the background.
It wasn't in the game!
It wasn't in the game, but it fits so well.
It does.
It fits so nice and evenly.
Oh, Duran, what have you done?
They've given
What's
people
funny-
love for synth.
I mean, what's funny is that band did kind of exist during the time period that
Yeah,
5
they
is
could
set
have
in.
chosen a different Duran Duran song, and it would have worked.
Yeah. But no, this is, as always, a fun topic to think about. It's a good one for especially for any beginning writer that wants to make an expansive world, or even a D&D campaign for making Scratch.
Exactly. Though probably the one thing that is probably the funniest thing that I have seen for D&D campaigns is I have this buddy at work. His campaigns have the concept that there is always a ticking clock. Now, his players can experience certain things. However, there are just some things that if they take too long, they will just not experience, they will just not encounter those things, and the events will play out without their input. And there is a already preordained thing that will happen if they do not interfere. So, with that being said, I like the concept of take the first Fallout game,
The water chip
the water chip. You have a literal,
month.
you have a time limit, and things happen within that time limit. Now, you're not going to miss out on any content because that can kind of screw you over. But if you do take too long, it is game over.
The mutants will kill the necropolis if you expand your water chip's time. And then you don't have the ethical dilemma of, do I take the water chip or not?
Yep.
There's a couple interesting things actually with somewhat the reactive world of Fallout 1. Because there's a couple of things that you can do that kind of affect other areas. It's not a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, if
But
you
there
do
are.
expand your timer, that caravan leads the mutants to your vault.
Yep.
It decreases
There's also, I
the
think,
second timer.
Yeah, because there's a secret second, as I know of.
There's the water chip, and then there's the super
master.
mutant timer.
Yep.
It's it's fantastic.
It's a wonderful game. I highly recommend anybody pick it up. It's probably like $5 on Steam right now.
As me and my brother could attest, Fallout 1 and 2, very much good games to play. They are a little bit buggy. I will not lie. There is still the save crash bug.
Ever existed that isn't buggy.
It's something
What's
inherently
this? You
within the
tried
coding
playing a
of the
game that existed back in the fucking 80s on Windows 10? Good fucking luck, chump.
It's more like that bug exists even at the time.
Yeah.
So in 1995 to 97, which is the release dates for 1 and 2. In 95, Fallout 1 was like really technologically advanced. In 97, Fallout 2 was really fucking behind because they moved away from isometrics.
Yeah.
But we still got Arcanum from basically the same guys.
Oh, God. Coming from the real devs that brought you Fallout 1 and 2.
Those devs are not there.
I know.
No, wait, there's still Feargus. Feargus has been involved with every Fallout project still.
That's
adorable.
adorable.
What is his role?
I think he's just the same lore guy since beginning. So it's weird.
Reed, I was really hoping you would just go,
No, it's a good question what Feargus... He's just been in every fucking Fallout project.
He's
some
one
fucking
of the
reason.
producers.
It's fucking wacky that he's still around in that.
The Fallout TV show kind of fucked up Shady Sands, I think.
Fallout...
Dirty.
Kind of?
Yes and no. It's kind of weird because all the original developers of Fallout 1 and 2 are just like, well, it's actually this. Well, it's actually this. Because all of them had different ideas for how any of that shit was going to go. None of them agree on anything.
The NCR just stagnated in size and stabilized. That's what I would like to believe.
You went NCR for your playthrough, didn't you?
No, I went house for Vegas.
God bless you.
Listen, they stabilized in California. They did not expand past Nevada. They are now
Today
under
is
the thumb
Friday
of the
in
autocrat.
California.
Look, man, I can't wait for the She to actually have a game.
I wish to know where you get your optimism.
Man, my optimism is hoping the fan base actually makes a game.
Never.
It's way easier for the fan base just to bitch about there not being a game, you know. So that's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Or they make Fallout London.
Or
They make Fallout London, and Todd gets his fucking jimmies in a twist.
England is not important to the Fallout universe. There's nothing there anymore. It decentralized or whatever the fuck.
The best thing we get is the Wasteland series, and that is.
Wait, hold on. Do you
maybe
think
it.
Elizabeth II reigned for the same amount of time? Because she was born before the timeline split of Fallout.
Oh no, I think she's a ghoul. I believe that's what everybody. That's what I've heard.
Well, she would have died before ghouls existed, because those experiments happened in the 2050s, I think.
Nah, we got Mecca Elizabeth II.
Wait. Did they change it and they made ghouls are now experiments instead of just naturally occurring shit like random
They are
chance?
somewhat naturally occurring, but only with high doses of radiation that they wouldn't have been experimenting with at the time, most likely. And so they started like doing the FEV stuff in I think the 2050s, I want to say. And then the actual FEV virus came out in like 2071. It's been a while, okay? Admittedly, since I've gone into the deep dive of Fallout lore. I know the new plague struck in 2060s-ish, in that decade. And that would have caused some ghoulifications to happen. But Elizabeth is dead by now. In probably both universes. Before ghouls were discovered.
Damn, I'm wondering if that mod was made before Elizabeth's death, if she would actually still just be a thing, because everybody assumed she'd live forever.
Yeah. In which case, she becomes the Empress of Mankind, just due to the fact that she's the oldest living thing, or whatever.
God, what was the New Vegas mod where you went to, like, London for a bit?
I don't know.
I
just remember
I don't know what you're
Mike
fucking talking
Burns
about.
was doing a thing on it. Yeah, no, like, before the Fallout 4's version of Fallout London, there was a New Vegas version that was just, like,
Really?
a very small... It was a very small area that you could explore.
You're an MP! No, I'm not. You're an MP! I'm fucking mad. New Vegas shitpost mod.
Yeah, just like it's just a guy who shitposts a lot in New Vegas mod assets. He makes all good products, I assure you. I just don't remember his name.
You know what? That's actually a good point to talk about world building. Is fan world building from an existing setting and how to approach it in general.
Ah, yes, branch off.
Yeah. Like, because I've noticed, like, with, say, certain worlds that do exist that are kind of old, or, like, that are old enough to where it's, like, it's not being written anymore, people just say, fuck it, I'm gonna do my own expansion from that, but it's, like, my fan thing. Like,
Behold,
I'm pretty sure,
Garfield
like...
effect.
Garfield effect, but that is fucking a shit post of a story. Or hell, even technically Snoot and fucking Wani Fix are like that. They are a branch off world building in their own right.
It makes me more comfortable if that guy really thought he was the hot shit. I'm coming for you, Shakespeare Hemingway.
No, you're not.
I'm trying to think of like the best example for something that isn't just like, you know, tabletop stuff for making an expansion to it. Sarge, you got any ideas off the top of your head for that?
For one more time?
So, like how you get a fan base to run around like a certain world and stuff, there'll be basically fans that will make their own expansions or side things to the world itself to try to world build their own headcanon.
Right, they'll homebrew shit.
Monk has come
Yeah,
through, by
or
the way, in the Roundup chat.
What?
that,
In the
or stuff.
Writers Roundup text channel, Monk came through for you, by the way, Sarge.
Oh, you're a fucking G.
Or even like shit like SCP, where it's like basically this community world building thing going on.
I mean, that is definitely an interest.
I'm talking also pre-SCP going completely shit.
Listen, I don't even know what you're talking about when it comes to SCP.
Like creepypasta stuff, how that all combined into a weird thing.
But it is
turned into dog
but it-
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's its own like self-contained kind of world-building scenario going on. But you have like hundreds of people that are writing like entries into this world to kind of build something around it.
And then every once in a while, you'll get one of this is the 10th post this month of someone writing fan fiction of Jeff the Killer fucking Slender Man.
Yeah.
Kind of, but a little
Here's
bit
Dr.
different.
Bright,
Where it's
fucking more bitches.
Yeah.
yes,
No. That's canon. That's canon.
That is the problem with the SCP as of the current moment. But
They're
it
obsessed with
was
central
more.
figures.
But it used to be this collaborative effort to make these stories revolving around a world or different, because one of the SCPs is just a reset fucking button for emergency reasons. So you can have like a bunch of these like different like stories written around this with material that does exist on the site to make like this kind of unique world. It's shamed what happened to it now.
The shame is, it's a shame that the SCP Foundation is supposed to be a faceless organization, but people get so obsessed with these figures that it's now forced to have a face.
Yeah.
Like, dog. It's kind of like the Men in Black.
It's what it's
where
turned
they
into
compare what
now.
it's supposed to be. Actually, I know Men in Black is another good example of that same thing happening. Men in Black is supposed to be like, this is two members of a faceless organization, but now, because of how popular that IP is, those are now the faces of the organization.
Yeah.
But I figure Men in Black's gonna be easy to just assume that you know.
It's
Oh yeah.
it's just one of those interesting prospects of a community world building thing, because you don't see too many of those really pop up or even last as long as like with the quality that SCP was at some point. Because normally that shit will either just last for maybe a couple of months and then it just kind of burns in a wrecking fire because there's so much creatives that are arguing over each other
I think
that
SCP
everybody just kind of
ran
leaves.
For, 15 years?
What was?
Yes.
I remember this quote from my one of my local radio stations. It's a rock station. There's he's Stephen Thrill Hill. The thing he said, they were talking about guys, like bands that got popular, and when they started like making music, once they were popular or rich and famous, they didn't have the same kick as their like the early stuff. And the thing he said was, the best stuff you will ever make is when you are starving and broke. That is where legitimately the best shit you will ever make in your life comes from, is when you are starving and broke, and it will have the most emotion and real. It'll be real, it'll be authentic, it's not like clouded by anything. Like, you don't have luxuries clouding you from the art. Which, yeah, I know that's fucking retarded saying it that way, and it kind of is. But in the same sense, there's some truth to it, that you will not have the legitimate authenticity of what you want this to be if you like get rich off of it, because then you're just trying to make money. Which, for my shit, part of me has this hope that it does get popular and people do enjoy it, because I know people like it. The difference being is that the concern always comes across of, you're making this so that people who like it will like it. You're not making it for the sake of this is what this will do.
Sarge, I need you to make marketable plushies right now, by the way.
I mean, technically, you could kind of look at like maybe one of the writers that you can't put the same thing as like with Tolkien because Tolkien just wanted to write the story anyways.
Right.
He's like, I've had,
kids.
yeah, he's like, I'm writing this not for necessarily like to make money per se or anything like that. He's like, I'm writing the story for his kids, and he had this experience throughout life, and he's like, you know what? I could take my experience and put this down on paper.
He put it down on paper, and the only reason that it actually got as popular as it was is that he sold the rights to the Lord of the Rings for
I'm trying to remember how.
he sold the rights to create shit for the for Lord of the Rings out, and that's how we got a lot of the other stuff that we've gotten for Lord of the Rings.
And it's just interesting with some of these people because I'm assuming that even if he made like this shit ton of money and owned the full rights, I don't think he'd be making it just because. I don't think he'd be making it to keep chasing that. He just still because his personality was unique for somebody that would get that popular. A lot of people that I don't think have the same mentality.
There are a lot of people who do things out of passion even after they get famous, and that passion that they had is why they become famous in the first place. Like, look at Bon Jovi.
Yeah, no,
Bon Jovi, that music stayed of the same quality for the longest time because John Bon Jovi was just he remained a regular guy up. So I think he's still alive, so he's just still a regular guy.
And then you got the opposite.
Money on drugs and cars. He just has a restaurant where you pay what you think the meal was worth, and he's like, "All right, good enough."
And then you got the opposite was like Rolling Stones, where essentially they keep making albums constantly to try to trace the money and relevancy, constantly.
Where they made a magazine.
Yeah.
They made a magazine, and now it's the only thing anyone remembers the Rolling Stones for.
Yeah, the Rolling Stones magazine.
Yep. Other than, they're that Vietnam era band.
Remember that.
So the one thing that I think we got a little sidetracked, so I'll try and yank us back if y'all don't mind.
Go ahead.
So rolling it back, the importance of world building is that if your world, I just had that fucking thought. Come on now. Son of a bitch! I swear to God, I'm having a stroke right now. I literally just had the fucking idea and it's gone.
Do you smell burning toast?
I smell pennies and nickels.
I mean, that might be your septum piercing.
I've done that.
How fucking dare you accuse me of having a fucking septum piercing? I have a very close relationship with my parents, I'll have you know.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, it was too good to not.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Fuck you for it, though. Oh.
Don't you love when he tastes like car keys?
Whatever. Fucking Red Wings. That's
a hockey team.
What an unfortunate hockey team. So, the importance that draws back to it is that this is something that I need to tell myself constantly when I'm writing is that so long as you legitimately hold faith in what you are writing, that you're not doing it for any other sort of reason than this is what the world needs or this is what would make sense within the world, it will be genuine and it will be what that project or that world needs to feel genuine. Because if it feels genuine, it will feel alive, it will feel like it has a beating heart. Now, I'll admit, for one of my fucking maps for the updated version of like the Eastern Kingdoms, it looks like a heart. I didn't intend for that. That's just how it fucking happened. But for all intents and purposes, it's actually quite thematic because the Eastern Kingdoms has so much going on in it. It is the beating heart of Urtaf. Because that is where all of the lore exists. So much shit has happened in that specific area of the world. And sure, it's only in the perspective of humans, but nevertheless, so much shit has happened there. The literal arrival of God incarnate showed up and erased a species from existence. That's the level of important shit that has happened in that specific place. So yes, it is the beating heart of Urtaf. Also, hello, good sir. Good morning, and it's good to see you.
Hello.
Oh, did you look in the YouTube chat?